Imagine if Amazon had its own army, not security guards, an actual army, tens of thousands of soldiers, cannons, warships, the power to sign treaties, the power to declare war. Now imagine that company arriving in a foreign country, and less than a century later, it controls millions of people. That sounds impossible, but it already happened. And the strangest part is that almost nobody saw it coming. In the year 1600, the East India Company was born. At first, there was nothing unusual about it. It was just a business, a group of English merchants looking for profit. Their goal was simple: buy spices in Asia, sell them in Europe, make money. That was it. No empire, no dreams of ruling India. At least, not yet. When the company's ships first arrived in India, they were tiny compared to the powers already there. India was one of the richest places on earth. Its cities were enormous. Its markets overflowed with wealth. Its craftsmen produced goods that were famous across the world. Compared to the Mughal Empire, the East India Company was insignificant. A visitor at the time would never have guessed which of the two would survive. And that was exactly what made the company dangerous, because nobody treats a merchant the same way they treat a king. Kings are watched, armies are feared, but merchants are welcomed. The company asked for permission to trade, then permission to build warehouses, then permission to build forts, then permission to protect those forts. Each request seemed reasonable. Each request seemed temporary. Each request seemed small. But history has a strange pattern. Big changes rarely arrive looking big. They arrive disguised as small decisions. As the decades passed, something else was happening. The Mughal Empire was beginning to weaken. Power that had once been concentrated in one ruler started breaking apart. Regional kingdoms became more independent. Local rulers competed against one another. Old alliances fractured, and wherever power becomes fragmented, opportunities appear. The East India Company noticed, and unlike the rulers around it, the company had one clear goal: profit. It didn't care about prestige. It didn't care about tradition. It didn't care about old rivalries. It cared about results. Soon, the company started doing something unusual. It stopped behaving like a business and started behaving like a state. It recruited soldiers, built forts, collected intelligence, negotiated alliances, funded political factions, and because it still called itself a company, many people failed to recognize what it was becoming. Then came Bengal. In the 18th century, Bengal was one of the wealthiest places on earth. Its textiles were famous across continents. Its economy generated immense wealth. Controlling Bengal meant controlling one of the richest regions in Asia. The ruler of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dowlah, saw the growing influence of the company. He saw the forts, he saw the soldiers, he saw the danger, and he tried to stop it. But by then, the game had already changed. The company wasn't fighting with armies alone. It was fighting with money, promises, deals, influence. In 1757, the two sides met at the Battle of Plassey. On paper, it barely looked like a contest. Siraj-ud-Dowlah's army vastly outnumbered the company's forces. The outcome should have been obvious, but battles aren't always decided on the battlefield. Sometimes, they're decided long before the first shot is fired, before the battle even began. Key figures within Bengal's leadership secretly agreed to support the company. Money changed hands, promises were made, loyalties shifted, and when the moment came, much of the army simply stood still. The battle lasted only a few hours. The consequences lasted centuries. Plassey wasn't just a military victory. It was proof of something extraordinary. The company didn't need to conquer India the way empires traditionally conquered territory. It could influence rulers, control economies, shape political outcomes, and slowly turn power into ownership. Over the following decades, the company expanded. More territory, more revenue, more soldiers. At its peak, its private army became one of the largest military forces in the world. Think about that. A company, not a country, a company, commanding one of the largest armies on earth. And yet, it still called itself a business. That word hid what it had become. Eventually, the company controlled vast parts of India. Millions of people lived under its authority. Taxes flowed into its accounts. Its decisions shaped entire regions. The line between corporation and government had disappeared. But the strangest part of this story isn't that the company became powerful. It's how it became powerful. Most conquerors arrive with banners, armies, declarations. Everyone knows they're a threat. The East India Company arrived with contracts, invoices, trade agreements. It looked harmless until it wasn't. People know how to defend themselves against kings. They know how to defend themselves against invading armies. But defending yourself against something that doesn't look dangerous yet is much harder. The East India Company didn't conquer India because it was stronger than everyone around it. It conquered India because it became something nobody expected, something that didn't fit into the categories people understood. It wasn't a kingdom. It wasn't an empire. It wasn't just a business. It was all three at once. By the time people realized what it had become, it was already too late.